Well, hello there. The old closes of Edinburgh's Royal Mile. What a subject. I mean, there's plenty of them. As you wander down hills from the castle to the palace, it almost feels as if there's a close every few steps. Like this one, this, that, this, and these.
You can get a good idea of the extent of Edinburgh's closes if we look at William Edgar's map of 1742. You can see the castle on the left and the palace on the right, and the Royal Mile running downhill between them. All those closes running at right angles to the Royal Mile are very much like ribs on the spine of a huge skeletal beast. When you look at John Mason's excellent map of the Canongate dating to 1813, you can perhaps start to get an idea of just how many closes there were. Some were grouped together, like here just outside Netherbow Port, a gate in the city's walls. I imagine that high concentration of closes, with a high number of residents, existed in the hope of gaining some protection. They were not quite inside the city, but close enough to be within sight of the city guard or soldiery manning the battlements. I mean, just look. That's a lot of closes. Around 55 between Netherbow Port and the palace. On the south side of Canongate, for example, from west to east, there's Stinking Close, Boyd's Close, Bell's Close, Cullen's Close, Gibbs Close, Perry's Close, Plainstone Close, Watson's Close, Mill's Close, Weir's Close, Upper Playhouse Close, Under Playhouse Close, and St John's Close. Many of these closes clearly got their name from people, but others were named after businesses in the close. Some names echoed the physical state of the close, like Stinking Close, which speaks for itself, perhaps giving a clue to how bad some areas of the city smelled when human waste was regularly chucked out of windows with cries of Gardeyloo. There was another concentration downhill from Canongate Kirk, around Reed's Court. You had Dunbar Close, Panmure Close, Brown's Close, Monroe's Close, West Loch End's Close, East Loch End's Close, Campbell's Close, Somerville's Close, and Malloch's Close. While the bulk of these close names still exist, in some cases the name sits above the entrance to a shop and is clearly no longer a close. In other cases, the whole close is gone, and the close name has been placed on a modern building right where the close used to be.
Well, you'll be glad to know that I'm not going to peer into every single old close in Edinburgh's Royal Mile. That's a video that would be about a year long. I'm just going to have a look at a few of them. Whitehorse Close, Lady Stairs Close, and Bakehouse Close and Mary King's Close. But I think hopefully it'll still give you a pretty good idea of what life was like for the people who lived in the tenements that lined these narrow passageways.
Just so that you can see like from higher up.
Well, this is Bakehouse Close. Although given the noise in the background, I'd like to rename it Seagull Close. You can see it in Mason's 1813 map, positioned between Sugarhouse Close and Wilson's Court, I think it is. Clearly, from the name, like a number of closes, it was named after a business that used to be here, a bakery.
As you can see, in 1813 it led from the Canongate to Young's Brewery. A later map of 1817 gives us more info, naming it as Richard Young's Brewery, and also shows another nearby brewery, Mr. Berwick's Brewery, in Alexander, I believe. Both sites would eventually become the Holyrood Brewery, owned by William Younger. Although there is a narrow entrance on both the Canongate and Carlton Road, Whitehorse Close looks more like a court than a close these days. You can see it in our 1813 map, running from the foot of the Canongate to the north back of Canongate, as they were called back then, and at that time it does look narrow and close-like. There is some uncertainty as to how this close got its name. It is thought it may take its name either from an early inn on the site, or from one of Mary Queen of Scots' horses which may have been stabled here. There was actually a White Horse Inn in a close further up the Canongate, close to Netherbow Port. It was located in Boyd's Close, named after the inn's owner, a James Boyd. Its approximate location is marked in a wall plaque in Boyd's Entry. Further up the Royal Mile and we have Lady Stairs Close. Its name comes from Elizabeth Stair, wife of the first Earl of Stair, whose ancestors lived in what is now the Writers' Museum back in the 17th century. In Ordnance Survey's first edition map of 1849, Lady Stairs Close is just a typical straight passageway leading from Lawn Market on the Royal Mile to North Bank Street. In this later 1893 map, we can see we've lost a small part of both Lady Stairs Close and the adjacent Baxter's Close to form a small open space. By the middle of the 20th century, the original Lady Stairs Close has more or less gone, with only the entrance on Lawn Market left. Baxter's Close and Wardrop's Court have also more or less gone, and what is now a large open space has been named Lady Stairs Close. Today, the original entrance to Wardrop's Close still exists, but Baxter's Close is totally gone, and the open space is now known as Macker's Court.
Well, this is a close sort of just off or to the side of Fish Market Close. And I'll be honest and say I don't know what close this is. There's closes all over the place. A good bit of wind. There's closes and there's wines and there's courts. And some of them meet up. I think while clearly a number of closes exist, almost intact and almost in effect in their entirety, as I think we've seen, there are quite a few that have been sort of that have gone over the years. In some cases it's just a sort of entrance to the close, and you go through that entrance and you're just met with a lot of modern developments. And sometimes the close entrance is gone and it's the entrance to a shop, or it's just a sign on a wall saying such and such a close. The close is completely gone. It's only the sign that's marking the location of where that close used to be. But there is one close off Edinburgh's Royal Mile that has been preserved, at least partially, not the whole length of the close, but part of this close has been preserved. Just one close that was sealed in the 18th century, and today it's a virtual time capsule.
Mary King's Close, named from a Mary King who lived here in the 17th century. It originally ran from the Royal Mile down to what is now Market Street. You can see the full length of it in this map of 1742, just a decade or so before the exchange was built over part of it and sections were sealed in 1753. This drawing of 1702 shows how that area actually looked before the exchange was built. The northern section of the close was partially demolished in 1856 when Coburn Street was created. I've marked the original length in red on this 1849 map, and you can then see where it once ran after the addition of Coburn Street in this later map of 1893. Mary King's Close was last occupied in 1902, which is really not that long ago. The lack of daylight or fresh air in the underground houses must have made them challenging places in which to live. And this is it. Mary King's Close, an underground street and warren of rooms and passageways. It's now a visitor attraction, the real Mary King's Close, an insight into the life of the hundreds of men, women and children who once lived and worked in this close from the 16th century right up to 1902.